Had myself an incredible weekend of games and crazy narrative gameplay and awesome artists and just lots of inspiration. Um, Unfortunately, I wasn't able to live stream it. The lighting was very dark, and I tried to set it up a little bit, but I didn't feel like it was gonna show anything but, maybe somebody's back in the dark, right? So I didn't really push for that. But it was cool. Check out Hives Come Podcast on Instagram. There's a lot of people linking the hashtag Brothers of Prometheum, so you should be able to get a lot of cool videos or photos. Trey Basilisk did a really cool portfolio of it, so definitely check that out. I'll try to link that on my channel maybe, so you can go check it out. Yeah, that's gonna take me a minute though, because I gotta go through and do a lot of different little changes on the channel. So, but we're gonna catch up from where I had to drop everything last time because that pipe started spilling water all over the floor. So we're gonna go right back to blue. I still have a little bit of blue in my palette. I don't know how alive it is, so I'm gonna find out. So I'm able to get a little blue out of this. So that's what, 4 days or something of it sitting here with the fan on it and it's still working. So that's I gotta fix the camera. It's leaning on my workbench ever so slightly, so everything I touch then causes the camera to wobble. That's better. Huh? Yeah, cool. I'd rather you see this than me, just so you know. So we got some glue. I'm just gonna go over. Blue I already did because I did this quite hastily because my feet were suddenly submerged in a puddle of water. So I want to get this moistened back up so that I can actually do some shading on it. So the Brothers of Prometheum event was incredibly inspiring. I kind of don't want to be painting anymore. I kind of want to be moving on to the building aspect now. But I only have a little bit more to paint, so I'm just going to try to crank this out real quick so that I can move into the next project. Unfortunately, I don't know if the next project is going to be on the live stream, so I might find something else to do on live stream, because I don't want to ruin the surprise of kind of the reveal of the board, which unfortunately means that I got to be secretive. And if I want to share something, then I want to share it, and then it's really hard to be secretive. If I don't want to share something, then I don't share it, and it's easy to be secretive. But when it's something cool that people are going to enjoy, it's hard not to want to share it. So I'm going to go ahead and just shade this right now and get it done. I'm just mixing up a mid-tone. I got my white, I got my blue. It's kind of runny, so if I tilt it too much, it'll go everywhere. But I got my white, I got my dark blue, and then I'm just mixing up myself a mid-tone in the middle. And then I'm going to the light's coming from this angle, so like straight from the camera. So I'm just going to start mixing in, stippling it on some of that mid-tone, and because I just put uh, that layer of blue, this will blend really well with that blue. You don't have to worry about uh, trying to make sure the transition between the dark and the mid-tone are perfect, because they'll kind of do that for you a little bit. That's the beauty of using the oil paints, is you can wet blend on your piece for a long time. So that's our mid-tone, and now we're just going to bring it up even more. And the more you fiddle with this, the more it's going to mix in with the dark blue and the mid-tone. So you can kind of like manipulate it a little bit more while it's still on there. So then I'm going to go with a real bright white. I mean, not really, it's just a baby blue at this point. But lighten it up even more and do stipple basically a line down that center. And that will just act like reflected light. Boom, that's the shading, the highlighting all done. I could go, I could go more and really try to push it if I wanted, which it's, when you do this wet blending, it blends itself. It's like cooking something. It cooks itself a little bit after you've taken it off of the heat. So this blends a little bit after you've stopped with it. So whatever you do is going to tone down a little bit. So it's good to have that in mind. You might think that, like, oh, that line is too bright, but when you come back to it when it dries, it might not be, nearly as bright. It might blend in perfectly how you like it. So I would definitely suggest practicing that. Something like terrain is a good practice too, because then you can move on to miniatures and still feel like you have a real good grasp of how that transition, the lighting transition occurs. So I'm gonna mix up some more blue. That's what I got going on right here. The terrain for Brothers of Prometheum was very cool. I got to use my mobile refinement in an actual game, like as a vehicle, which was kind of cool. No, it was cool. It wasn't kind of cool. It was madness, is what it was. That's why I say kind of, because there's like a certain element of chaos to it that I both quite enjoyed and was maybe slightly afraid of. But it was very fun. It makes me want to do something more like that with moving pieces of terrain on the board, which of course isn't going to be very enjoyable for a big game like AOS or 40K, but if you're playing a skirmish game, moving terrain might be cool, especially if you start on a smaller board and you add terrain to it and take terrain away. That might be a cool effect. And then the final battle of the Brothers of Prometheum was on this 8x4 board that South of Heaven, Steve South of Heaven, one of the Hive Scum members, put a lot of effort into. Tyler's all right at painting. He did a whole bunch too. I helped out a bit. Weird Stoned, Paulie Mordheim, he helped out a bit. Yeah, Gage and Terry. I don't know exactly who had their hands in it. I know I was invited to help for a bit, and I got to, and that was very awesome. Helping somebody else with a big project like that makes it easier to start your own big project. Going to an event like that, it was invite only, a bit more private. That really inspired me to try to do something myself, because I kind of feel like I'd like to see Gage and Steve. I'd like to see the Hive Scum boys all with the packets. I'd like to yell at them about not reading their packet. How about that? No, I'm playing, but yeah, I'd like to see some other people get chances to play as opposed to run it, and then I also would like to extrapolate on some of the things that I have witnessed and experienced recently with the Mordheim and Hondius and Brothers of Prometheum. I always thought like, oh, I would have to know the rules of this system like in and out to be able to feel comfortable running an event like that. But now I just realized that it's really like, it's that old adage of like, once you start playing the game, it's actually your game. It's not whoever wrote it anymore. It's your game because you can change it. You're playing it. You can change it how you want it. That only affects you. That's, you know, you and your group can homebrew whatever the heck they want, and nobody can say anything about it. So if you run an event like that, that would be my biggest takeaway from it, is that you can change whatever you want. You are the creator in this sense. So, you know, if certain rules, systems don't match up the way you want, change them. Switch the shooting phase to a different game than the one that everything else is. Use the movement from another game instead of the base one that you're using or something. That's totally fine. That's why you write a little packet for it, so everybody is on the same page in the beginning. And I really appreciate that about Brothers of Prometheum. That was really cool. Alright, so I got a base on this last blue bottle over here. Base coat pretty much done. It's not quite as dark as the last one because that one had a coat prior to it. But I'm going to do right where the green is highlighting, so I'm going to basically highlight on either side of this pillar right here, this one. Same thing, the light's coming in from this angle and the light's coming in from this angle. So I'm going to mix myself up another mid-tone. You can't see my palette, but same thing I did with the other one. And then I'm just going to start. Stippling in this mid-tone. Gonna need just a little bit more dark blue because I missed a spot, and I'm gonna need something to push back a little bit against mid-tone. Mixing. So, let's see, what else about the BOP that I really liked? Oh, the lighting. Dylan, man, I wish I could remember his handle. Void Hallution, I want to say. It's an interesting name, so it doesn't pop right to my brain. Guy, he like professional at that lighting stuff. I honestly don't know what everyone does in their RL lives outside of the hobby. But it is interesting to see people bring their skills and knowledge from, you know, real life into the hobby. And I have a hankering that's. Anyways, he did a wonderful job on the lighting, and it was so incredibly atmospheric. That's part of the reason why I didn't do try to like set up the live stream for a little bit. Was the lighting was very dark and only the board was lit, and it made it like it made it like a stage. If you've ever gone to like a play, watch some like some old drama, like Shakespeare type of play, the way that they have you down and the stage up and the stage lit like that draws your draws your eyes directly to the stage, and that was it's very much how it felt. It felt like I was watching Swan Lake, but with jet speeders across an apocalyptic wasteland. So I'm just adding a little white, up in the tone a little bit, and I'm gonna blend that right in here. And if I feel like any of it's too light, I can always just go back with a little dark and it'll darken it up. Same thing, if I feel like it's too dark, the only thing that I'm seeing here is that there isn't much mid-tone left. Kind of has really brightened up, so I feel like bringing in some more of this mid-tone a little bit here. And then even just kind of doing some stippling on the stuff that would be really shaded, just to give it a little bit of variance. So I'm just trying to blend. You gotta work Thursday morning, buddy. Yeah, I don't know how long you stayed yesterday, but we got the kid, and the kid was like, "Yeah, let's go back." And I was like, "Yo, I gotta take my shoes off for a minute." Oh, my foot was hurting, but I feel you. It was really cool. It's kind of like you need like a day of gaming, and then a day of rest, and then a day of gaming, and then a day of rest, right? Just gonna go and really try to be sparing with the very, very top highlight, the white. Again, this will blend itself in a little bit, especially if I mess with it a little bit more after I put this on here. But Just trying to get it a good, and it will tone itself down as it dries, but just trying to get a good pop there. So let's see. Those. Kind of don't want to do the scaffold in blue, but maybe I will anyways. I'm running out of blue, but I am done with buildings, so we are okay. Right. Okay. Mixing up some more blue. And we might actually just lighten it from the beginning just a little bit. Or maybe we have a bunch of green. So maybe I'll just toss some green in there too. Just to change its tone just a little bit so it doesn't match perfectly to that blue. The phthalo green really is a very strong color, so this might actually look a little bit more green than it does blue, but that's fine. It will be somewhere in between. I am going to add a little extra water to it. Make sure all the paint's broke down. So that's nice. That's like a little bit more teal than that ultramarine sort of color. And that's why using a limited palette is so beneficial. I knew I could just mix another blue green here and it will fit in because it's using all the same colors. Like it's this color and this color mixed together made that color. That color is going to match these two because it's made with the same tones. It's it may seem limiting, and it is, but limiting yourself actually makes it easier. I am curious. I almost felt like we needed to do a little interview with everyone at the end of the Brothers of Prometheum and ask them a questionnaire or something and get everyone's like opinions and ideas. Maybe I've been watching too many serial killer profile shows. There was a good documentary that I watched, and now I'm like trying to think of like scientific methods too. What, asking everyone a bunch of questions right at the end? I don't know. It would have been really funny to have like, psychological questionnaire at the end on how I was thinking more like how traumatic the event was to you, but Not like a corporate survey, like a doctor survey. uh, and then from that, try to pull ideas. But that would be a fun little added on in the end of your packet. You have to fill out this medical paperwork that describes your. There, see, there's very good, Darson. You're already working out the questions we need to ask, and scales from 1 to 10, I think, are a good one because they don't have to think, they don't have to write any words. You just got to fill in a little write 10, write 1, right? So that's good thinking. What's funny is I I don't feel socially exhausted right now. But then again, I'm not surrounded by people. I'm sitting alone in the Underhive, so it doesn't really hold over on me unless it's something traumatic. Like if I would have been pissed off by something yesterday, or saddened or upset in some way, then maybe it would have held over. But for me, it's in the moment. That social wear, that wear on my psyche, the social wear on my psyche, is right during the moment. Yeah, so that's when all the anxiety kicks in and all that shit for me. But I feel fine now. Maybe just a little beat up. My legs hurt from standing, which is just me whining like a whiner. But it was outstanding. Like that was the coolest thing. I ain't never been to a barbecue and then got to play a bunch of cool games afterwards or during. It was awesome. I want to play that race down the hill again, and this time with the battle barge being having 30 hit points instead of 15. I think that'd have been more fun. I could have herded everybody up that hill. I guess it would have been more fun for me, right? I wouldn't have died as quick. Also, the amount of NPCs playing was pretty cool. I mean, I saw like 4 or 5, including me, being an NPC for the second battle. I think it was like 5 people were running different NPCs. Like in one game, Brad Bitsbib Orcs, he was shooting everybody up with this rocket boy who was standing on the edge of the table, and then all of a sudden this like body snatcher came out of nowhere and snatched him right up and drug him off the board, and he disappeared. And it was like, okay, well, there's no more rocket boy there. It's pretty brutal. Very cool. Very cinematic feeling. Yeah, we gotta go. I gotta go back to the studio and search and find the actual 28 scale templates, because I left I left a set of them there, and I guess one of them got lost. So I gotta go dig through that place, and hopefully they didn't throw it away. but because having the actual 28 scale would have changed it too. I feel like you guys would have been the jet bikes would have been moving further because the templates are bigger, but I'm pretty sure they were using you guys were using just regular gas lines templates, so you were moving slower than I felt like you should have been. It was still super cool. Uh, not not trying to talk shit. Just the bigger templates might have changed up the way the game was played a little bit. Maybe given a little less opportunity for you guys to shoot the crap out of each other, because that's what was happening. Sitting on the other side of the board, just watching all the players decimate themselves to the point where me and the other NPCs started fighting with each other, which was pretty funny. The other thing about it too is that there were so many players and so many jet bikes on there that when it actually came time to me to be able to like shoot at one of them, I had no idea who I was shooting at. So it really took the like who my opponent is out of the equation. It was just this person on a jet bike, right? So which is kind of cool because when you're playing a big multiplayer game like that, it's hard not to be like, oh, I know this guy, he's a sweaty gamer, he's gonna whoop the crap out of me, I better put some bullets into him now while I have the chance, or whatever. I like that kind of immersion, like the game we played with Doom and Apathy. Me and Durs and Doom and Apathy, Adam, we played a one-page Grimdark Firefight one-page rules game yesterday, and I didn't leave my little corner from where I deployed, like physically, personally me, stayed at the corner of the board, and tried not to walk around the board so much. And I totally got surprised by Durs, this guy that was right on the other side of a wall that I hadn't like physically looked around, but my models hadn't physically gone around it either, so technically they didn't know he was there. Or in headcanon, my guy just didn't even know he was there. So it was cool. It was one of those like, oh dang it, fell into that trap. The other thing with that is that I did bring some terrain down there. We played on that, so we got to, I got to see how the terrain held up to actual gameplay, which is always good. I also forgot how much I love to see how other people play on terrain. Some people will be like, oh no, you can't move there, and other people will be like, well, I'm going to try to jump from this to this, or I want to climb up that, or whatever, which I like, because I like both sides. I like making terrain like super crunchy and there's a bunch of rules for it, and then I also like it like quick and easy of just being, make this test, do this thing. You want to jump, make your same test you'd use for everything else to try to jump from a gap or something. So I am moving into just touching up here a little bit. Top of the scaffold now. Bad, I'll just we'll just go ahead and hit it with some highlights right now, quick and easy. right along the same corner. Blasting out a few highlights on these. Get this. I'm not gonna try to like highlight as far up as I did with say this in the white. I'm just gonna try to make sure to get some on everything. And a lot of times that'll have the same effect. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit. Here, so I don't miss it, and then I might just go try to get a little bit lighter just for this one. Cool. Good. I like it. Feel like all I really have left on here is some orange. So I'm gonna mix up some orange real quick. Clean my water dregs real quick. Okay, much better. Mix up a little yellow here. That my brush was, but okay. got anything I can do here. I'm gonna see if I can clean this brush a little bit better because it's got a bunch of green in it. If I put that green on that yellow, it won't be yellow anymore. Not too bad. This stuff does say it's like water mixable, but it doesn't actually clean up with water very well. So you gotta clean your brushes with alcohol or something afterwards. So real quick, this slides a little forward. There is a bunch of wires back down here. So this yellow has decided to turn green anyways, even though I did rinse that brush really good. I swear I did. But that's fine. Again, having the limited palette really really keeps things from being too dissident from each other. Get back in there and get some yellow on all of these wires. Keyword trying. Not doing a very good job at this at the moment, but that's fine. Once I get this yellow on it, then I can mix up the orange. And I'll do some of these panels kind of orange, I think. More wires sticking out. What is that one? So now I'm gonna mix this red and this yellow together. We'll probably get like a brownie orange because there's a bunch of green in this too. a little bit more red back in here because it's a little bit more yellow because it's a little bit too red for me. I'd rather it sitting on the yellow side of orange, although that's admittedly going to be more on the brown side, but here we go. Now we're talking orange I was more looking for, kind of like a moldy carrot orange or something. So I think I'm gonna do these bands orange. And if you notice, I didn't really highlight that yellow because that yellow was so runny that if I were to try to put anything on it, it would just smear the paint off. So I gotta let it like start to set up a little bit before I try to shade on it. Just trying to get a nice coat on this. And then same thing over here. It's closer to my paint so that, and I gotta plug something in real quick. What? Oh, get underneath here, just give it a little bit of tone. That side doesn't need to be highlighted or anything, it just needs a little bit of the pigment on it. Okay, those oranges look good. I think I'm gonna hit these ones too. Trying to get all of the EVA foam sort of supporting band looking pieces. Get them all matching up. Hopefully I don't run out of this orange before that. Okay, cool. I feel like a little bit of light, those are going to need a little bit of shading. I might do another technique where instead of shading with white, I shade with the lighter version of the color, which would be this yellow. I'm not going to put any water on it. I'm going to kind of stipple on this thick paint. And we'll see how it works. So this is where the light is coming from. So, as you can see, it's not going to have the same effect. It's not going to be as bright as if you just, tone up with white. But because of that whole blending, it ends up like showing all these different shades between that orange and that yellow. So it gives it a very, I like the effect. It obviously makes it look like a impressionistic oil painting a little bit. So, and I one of my favorite styles. So, good. Maybe a little more yellow. And if you really wanted to, you could then add some white in here too, and you'd really start, you could really start changing the tone there. I'm liking this burnt out orange. I think it looks great. Yeah, it has that kind of. In fact, doing hazard stripes with this might be a cool effect, because the stripes themselves they'd be very uniform because of the masking that you did, but the swirling effect on hazard stripes does look cool. I've definitely seen a couple variations of that. Okay, so since I have more of this orange, I'm going to go ahead and just make the box orange too. Oh, you can't even see it. So I'm moving up there now. I'm just painting up this box. Yeah, it's a good good dirty orange tone. It's actually one of the few tones that I feel like, you know, uh, that I can get without using the yellow ochre, I guess. That fits in the Necromunda vibe real well. That kind of dirty, gross orange. But looks good, looks good. I think I'm gonna switch over to this green again, or sort of gray teal. Just to give a little bit more color on this wall. These are just like little chunks of MDF from the sprue that the MDF terrain kit came in. They're so uniform that they work great on adding like little industrial shape, or little shapes on industrial, geometric shapes on industrial terrain. Glam, all right. That's looking good, that's looking good. Just switch this out real quick. This orange here. Nice color variations and blend. So you can't see so much in here, but you can see a little bit of variation here. I'll bring it a little bit closer. Okay. So the light is reflecting, but there's a bit of yellow and orange and red in that because of the magenta that got sprayed on the background and the transparent nature of the oil when it gets watered down. You have the magenta pushing through, which is causing the red pigment in this orange to pop out a little bit more. But there is more yellow in it than red, so the yellow is getting trapped on the top raised parts. So it has a very very cool effect for very little effort. So there's definitely worth in experimenting with different mediums than you've maybe used before. Good. All right, well, I usually dry once these are finished. I have another project lined up for this, which I think will be cool. And I would love for community input on it prior to actually starting laying down all the paint. So I might announce when I'm gonna have that particular live stream so people can throw their ideas out there at me. But so like I said, I'm gonna be live streaming a bit today. It's I'm gonna be trying to crank these out as far as I can so that I can get them drying and oil washed. But other than that, I'm gonna take a little break. I'll be back in a couple hours. Thanks everyone for watching my channel, hanging out with me. If you hit the notification thing, you'll know when I go live. Other than that, you can see my Instagram story. I usually try to do it, but I try to do it every day that I'm streaming, which has been pretty much every day. But I do have to hop off real quick. I gotta deal with some actual problems in the Underhive, so I'll catch you in a few hours. Right on. Peace.